From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News Weekend Edition.
Good evening. Welcome to the Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News. I'm Katie Looper. Our top story tonight. Fairbanks and Alaska State Troopers responded to a report of an armed robbery at Safeway Liquor Store on University Avenue at Airport Way this afternoon. The suspect fled and was tracked to Sophie Mini Storage, where authorities were attempting to locate him. Acting Police Chief Brad Johnson said the suspect was believed to have barricaded himself and possibly others inside one of the units. Both FPD and troopers were in full SWAT gear and had the trooper Bearcat on scene for assistance. The incident reportedly ended peacefully at about 5 this afternoon with suspects in custody.
At about 12:30 this afternoon, subject entered the liquor store at Safeway on University and committed an armed robbery. That person fled the scene on foot, and we have reason to believe that he has barricaded himself along with possibly some other folks in a storage unit here at Sophie's. We never know how long these situations are going to take, but our primary goal is to get everybody in custody and do it safely for them and us.
Although ballots are still being tallied, the Associated Press has declared Bill Walker the winner of Alaska's governor race. Walker had a slim lead on election night and the race was too close to call. However, the AP says that changed when thousands of absentee and question ballots were counted this week. Walker is the first candidate unaffiliated with a party since statehood to win the office. Even though AP has called it, there are still votes to be left, counted, and Walker is still not saying he's the winner.
Until we get a little further down, I'm going to probably continue to be cautiously optimistic. But the trend seems to be consistent. The more ballots are counted, our lead continues to grow. So that's a good sign for our standpoint.
UAF is constructing a new engineering facility that has changed the skyline of campus. Here's more in this report. UAF is constructing a new 120,000 square foot engineering building visible from the cornerstone of campus. The purpose is to relieve pressure on the current engineering building and open space for new labs, classes, and offices.
If you're driving on College Road or University Avenue, take an opportunity just to quickly look up and kind of see the change in the skyline.
The new structure will join the two existing buildings and connect in one sociable area called the High Bay. So far, they've erected the steel, poured the concrete, and nearly sealed the curtain wall. The university has hired all Alaskan-based contractors to create a sustainable building that will track the amount of energy used and display it on a kiosk.
Well, when the planning of the engineering building was underway, the Sustainability Student Board, called the RISE Board, was very interested in making sure that when it was built, it contained some sustainability features.
We're not only doing sustainable features like a solar array, we're putting sensors throughout the building. We're going to measure the motion of the building in an earthquake, the temperature of the wall section, temperature of the glass. We're going to measure all the electrical usage in the building. And we're going to try to get all that data together to where the students can actually use it.
These are resources engineering students don't have access to right now, like a unique 4-foot thick concrete strong floor built for student experimental purposes.
Like a bridge girder, for instance, you could put enough stress on it to where you can actually break it or at least see it deflect.
The new facility will educate and engage students with engineering on display, meaning clear panels to reveal the electrical and engineering work in the building.
The UF engineering facility is moving along quite well, but we do still need about $31.3 million worth of funding. We're hopeful that that'll come in this legislative session and we can complete the building and get our graduating engineers, our numbers up, and really help the state of Alaska out with our next generation of engineers.
If the university doesn't receive funds by July 1st of next year, they will be forced to push back the date from its anticipated time of December 2016. Reporting from UAF, I'm Katie Looper. We'll have more when the weekend's only televised newscast returns. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Saturday edition of the Fbx Evening News. With the growing popularity of Alaskan reality shows in our state, the accuracy of the programs has been called to question. So we talked to a few local TV stars. Here's more. In 2008, Governor Sarah Palin signed in a measure that was designed to encourage the growth of Alaska's film industry by allowing production crews to receive a transferable tax credit up to 58%, according to Alaska's film production program. Since the debut of Alaska's long-running classic, Deadliest Catch, reality shows like Alaska State Troopers, Goldfathers, Buying Alaska, and Doomsday Preppers can be seen by Americans everywhere. Local businessman Craig Compo and his daughter Emily were on Doomsday Preppers, a show which highlights unique survivalists that prepare for various economic takedowns.
They heard about our little dome up on the river and kind of our hunting camp, and I think they thought it would be a great opportunity to turn it into a bug-out location. And that's where people go to hide from pending war, pending economic collapse.
Laura Reeves and her sister Alora starred on the short-lived show called Goldfathers, which features 3 families mining for gold in Alaska.
We came up here, shot the pilot. I flew up from my home in New York, and we ended up putting together a sizzle reel, pitching it to Nat Geo, and they ended up buying a full show from it.
With the growing popularity of TV shows in our state, we asked our local stars to give us a glimpse into the reality of reality TV.
Some of the show was hype, but there's a lot of it that wasn't. When I jumped the beaver dam with my boat, they had me yell, I'm preparing for a total government takeover, which was hard for me to say because I was trying to keep from laughing when I was saying it the whole time.
We do go hunting. We do go upriver to be able to put food in our freezer. So on that note, yes, I believe that it's true. Do we go and actually set booby traps? Not so much.
My show wasn't scripted, and I work in TV and film, so I know how this works. And I think that was important for our show, was to show what it was really like to find gold and not have it be fake. Because, you can kind of tell when you're watching a show, like, there's no way that they're just coming up with this.
But why the fascination with Alaska?
I think Alaska has so many interesting things about it, and other states, they have interesting things too. You'll see the crocodile hunting shows in the lower 48 or whatever it is that the state has to offer, but Alaska just has that much more to offer. So they end up being really successful TV shows.
Join us next week as we interview local realtor Wes Madden about his time on Buying Alaska, and 2 Alaska State Troopers about becoming national television stars while maintaining their mission. This is Katie Looper reporting. It's that time of year again for the annual holiday marketplace. Buyers and sellers from the interior and outlying areas met at the Carlson Center for a one-weekend shopping extravaganza. This year they've got over 175 vendors selling handmade products, holiday gifts, and services. Last year, over 7,000 shoppers came out for the weekend to fulfill their Christmas lists. Courtney Shannon from KO Productions helped put on this yearly event for holiday shoppers of all ages.
Just that they can get all of their shopping done. I mean, there's something for everyone here. There's guy gifts, girl gifts, kid gifts, grandma gifts. There's a ton of great stuff. We're open today until 7 and tomorrow Sunday 11 to 5. It's $5 at the door. Children 12 and under are free.
It's time once again for another spotlight on one of the 21 agencies that make up the United Way of the Tanana Valley. Here's Mike Schultz.
The Interior Alaska Center for Nonviolent Living, or IAC, has been in the community since 1977 as a rape crisis hotline. They eventually expanded into a domestic violence shelter, a transitional housing unit, permanent supportive housing, and services for abused children. They are a multifaceted agency trying to address every issue of wellness they can. Executive Director Brenda Stanfield says her agency's vision is to basically see that the community is free of violence. And the United Way of the Tanana Valley makes that happen.
The United Way each year is able to assist us in paying just our general operating by the generous contributions of Fairbanks. So without United Way dollars, we don't have quite enough to pay our fuel bills, as everyone knows, and we have to buy food. We have sometimes roughly 75 people here a night that need food and services, and so just our general operating expenses are pretty high, and we really rely on United Way dollars to fund that.
I asked Brenda what she was most proud of for how her agency contributes to the community.
We serve a lot of different people in the community in a lot of different ways, but I think our proudest thing here is that we're able to provide services in a way that's respectful and non-judgmental. We were gifted this wonderful building, and because of that, we're able to offer families their own room. They don't have to share with people. We want them to continue living and working their jobs and doing what they did because they're out of their home for a reason that they really have no control over.
During her 18 years with IAC, what does Brenda feel is her most rewarding and fulfilling moment?
You know, that would have to be the day we saw a mom reunited with her children that she had not been able to see in quite some time. The court system can be very challenging. This particular mom did not have an attorney and ended up losing custody. And it was a 2-year battle in order to be able to be reunited with her children and be able to see them. And that was a moving day for all of us.
The United Way fundraiser continues all the way into the first part of next year, and all donations stay within the community. Mike Schultz reporting.
Austin Buchanan is coming up next with all your local sports action. Stay tuned.
Welcome, Interior Alaska, to our Saturday Sportscast. Austin Buchanan here. Time to take a look at some sports. Let's go. Last night, the Ice Dogs were looking to keep their 10-game winning streak alive. Joe Cook was there and has the recap.
The Ice Dogs facing off against the Wenatchee Wild, always a good rivalry in the NAHL, and tonight would be no different in this rough and rugged game. Early on, the Ice Dogs looking to break the scoreless tie, and John Teets would do it. 3:31 left in the first period. He gets his 3rd goal of the year. Caden Cahill on the assist, and the Ice Dogs were ahead 1-0. The Wild swung the momentum into their favor, getting back into it with back-to-back power play goals within a minute of each other. Mitch DeMauro denies Chase Monroe's shutout bid with a slap shot from distance that finds net. Then Jake Olgren lights the land for the Wild after a wild bounce off the glass. The Wild take a 2-1 lead at the 7:23 mark of the second period. Tempers with flair later in the period as either Somoza and Ryan Golater went at it. Somoza got in his punches, but it cost him a game. He was ejected for fighting and a game misconduct. It was heated after that. Every whistle, there was some extracurriculars, and that fired up Fairbanks, who was persistent despite Matt Bullion's saves with no stick and a mad scramble at the net. But the Ice Dogs never relented. Todd Burgess nailed the equalizer with 7.7 seconds left in the second period, and we're tied 2-2 going into the third. Steve Bryant, he will break the tie just 23 seconds into the final period. Mitch DeMario with the assist. Then later in the period, Algren again with his 2nd goal of the game. Another power play goal, this time with an extra attacker. 4-2 Wild, and when it rains it pours. The Wild tack on 4 goals in the third period. It wins 6-3 over Fairbanks. DeMario led all skaters with 3 points for the Wild. Wenatchee went crazy, going 5 for 7 on the power play, ending the Ice Dogs winning streak at 10 games. But there's still a series to be won. It's tied 1-1. The clincher is Saturday night at 7:30 in the Dipper.
All right, thanks, Joe. And earlier this morning, Hutchinson High School was the place to be for some wrestling action. It wasn't any day wrestling, though. It was the Hutch Meltdown. Wrestlers went head-to-head on the mats. Let's check out some of the semifinals that took place. In the 152 weight division, David Gelada out of North Pole battling against Reggie Poland of Lathrop. These two wrestlers went round and round, going all 3 periods. David Gelada takes the 12-1 victory. Now let's weigh up a little bit more, going to the 170-pound weight class. It's Vincent Fontana taking on Matthew Fagan. This match will come to an end early after Fontana out of North Pole pins Matthew Fagan of Hutch at the 3:54 time mark in the second period. Finally, we hit the 220 weight class. This time it's Dylan Walker taking on Thomas Taktu of Galena. This match had the fans on their feet as it came down to the final second in the third period with 5:59 on the clock and a 6-minute match. Walker was able to find the victory formation, C-pin Taktu to take the win.
You know, it's awesome. You get to see them throughout the year. They start really green and out of shape, and by the end of the year, you get some great competitors and get to be there for some great matches. It really does, you know, and we really strive, I do as a coach, you know, on the academics part of there, you know, it's just as important as their athletic part.
Last night in some swimming action, the Alaska Nooks matched up against Cal State. Nanook's off to a good start as former North Pole alumni Martha Hood, the true freshman, makes her presence known in the 50-yard freestyle. She completes it in 24.3 seconds. Well, there's no I in team as sophomore Victoria Adams added on for UAF with a win in the 200-yard medley victory. She had a total time of 2 minutes and 10 seconds. UAF wasn't able to come through as California State takes the road victory 100-105. With that loss, Nooks were looking for redemption earlier today in day 2 of the meet, but fell short 98-107. Nooks now stand 2-2 overall and 2-2 in their conference. Not only was it swimming taking place on the campus of UAF, that's right, Nanook's basketball hit the hardwood floor earlier this afternoon, taking on Trinity International. The Nooks coming into this preseason matchup after losing last night 73-83, now looking for a second chance. The Nooks started off the game slow but found their pace late in the first half after trailing early to the Trojans. Trojans got things started with a three-point play from the free throw line. With the Trojans leading early, the Nooks slowly but surely pulling the score close, coming behind from 12-4 late in the first half. With 8:12 left to go until intermission, Nooks trailed by 1, but Ashton Edwards came through shortly after with the falling shot to give the Nooks the first lead of the game, 21-20. Nooks take the lead at halftime, 34-24. The Nooks found the victory path as they go on to win the matchup 70-67. And to end our sportscast tonight, an upsetting story in sports down in Anchorage. The Lady Monroe Rams was defeated by Mount Edgecombe as both teams went into the state tournament undefeated. Mount Edgecombe wins 33-31. Joe Cook will have more on Monday. Now wrap it up for our sportscast tonight. Katie Looper has your full weather forecast coming up next. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back to the Saturday edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. Oz Buchanan, Katie Looper, and you have a sneak peek of something coming up next week, and I believe you said Alaska State Troopers, and I watch that show all the time, so tell us more about that.
Yeah, so next week I'm going to be having Wes Madden on. He was on the show Buying Alaska. And
watch
then,
that too.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
we're going to have 2 Alaska State Troopers, which were a hoot to interview, actually. They have some
Wow.
really fun stories to share.
Awesome. We can't wait to see that, and that's going to be next week, right?
Yep, that'll be next week. But now we'll take a look into our weather. It's 9 degrees at the airport right now. We had a normal high of 10 degrees and a normal low of minus 7 degrees. Our record high got up to 43 degrees in 1916 and as low as minus 35 just a couple years ago in 2011. Now our sun rose at 9:28 this morning, and it did set at 3:44 this afternoon, giving us a loss of 6 minutes from yesterday and just 6 hours and 17 minutes of daylight altogether. Not much, really. But around the state today, checking out on our southeast side, Juneau and Ketchikan have sunny skies, 29 in Juneau and 38 in Ketchikan. As for the Anchorage Bowl, sunny skies for them as well, around 36. Rain showers in Kodiak at 46 and cloudy skies in Coal Bay around 47. But as for the Bethel, Denali Park, and Nome area, they're having clear skies around 40 degrees, cloudy in Barrow at 30, and Fairbanks mostly clear around 21. Now, around the rest of the states today, 45 degrees in Seattle. Billings and Denver a little bit cooler, hanging around the low teens, but in Phoenix, 80 degrees for them. And Minneapolis, Chicago area, mid-20s. Moving down to our southeast, Miami is at 84 degrees and 48 degrees in New York and DC. But now for next week, we'll see what's happening. Chilly skies in our northwest, and that Arctic blast is still hitting them hard in our Midwest region with the jet stream going up through our east coast and causing lots of snow and rain mixture for them. But warm and dry areas in our southwest and southeast portion of the United States. But now back in Alaska, starting with the North Slope, cloudy in Barrow and Nome at around 26 in Barrow and 37 degrees in Nome, and clear in Fort Yukon at just 2 degrees. And in the interior, clear skies for us at 18 degrees in Fairbanks, 23 in Delta, and 30 degrees in Healy. Now moving down south to our southeast portion, sunny skies for them, 37 in Juneau and 41 in Ketchikan. Moving west though, rain in Bethel and Kodiak, and partly sunny in Coal Bay with temperatures all there in the mid-40s. And lastly, for our South Bowl, partly cloudy for Anchorage and Homer, and rain and snow for Valdez. Temperatures in our mid to high 30s for Anchorage and Valdez, and 47 for Homer. And tonight's forecast, we should be expecting just 4 degrees and mostly clear skies, but for tomorrow, we got 18 degrees and it's going to warm up with partly sunny skies. And here's our extended outlook for next week. 25 degrees nearly all across the board, except on Friday it's going to dip down and be a little bit cooler, around 20 degrees, and hang around 10 degrees in our nightly temperatures, except for Thursday, 5 degrees, but pretty solid.
Oh, definitely. And the cold weather is still, I was just not getting used to all this coldness. I walk outside and some days it's like 9 degrees, and yeah, especially in morning time. So
actually, I was thinking it's a really warm winter for us. You know,
it
it's been in the 30s and 20s, which is great for being November.
Yeah, absolutely. It's summertime here, from what I was told. Anytime it's above 20 degrees, it's summertime weather here in Alaska.
Yeah, sweater weather is what we call it.
Sweater weather.
Yep.
I like that one. Say that one 10 times fast tonight. Sweater weather.
Well, all right, that'll wrap up our Saturday edition of the Fairbanks Evening News, and we're glad you could join us.
And you can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11, or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good rest of your weekend.